Patrick Semmens, National Right to Work Law Center, Legal Foundation.
Legal
How are you?
Foundation.
How
I'm
are
doing
you?
well. How are you?
I'm so appreciative that you could come on today. And I know we were sort of in the middle of something else, but we were talking about deep state activities. And some of these people, it seems to me, are probably, government workers who belong to unions and all sorts of things. And I know that the National Right to Work Legal Foundation has been worried about, this issue for, decades, having the entire U.S. government be at the mercy of union leaders just kind of blows my mind. I don't think anybody really ever thought that was a good idea. Who liked America, I mean. What are you guys doing?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's great
Mm-hmm.
to talk about this important issue. But yeah, I mean, this is a problem that's been going on for years, and in fact, decades. And when you go back to FDR, a big fan of unions in the private sector, but he understood and recognized that in the government sector, unions are a massive problem. They're totally unworkable. They're contrary to our basic democratic principles, and that is voters pick elected officials to determine government policy. But when you have union bosses involved, it undermines that. Instead of enacting policies, you have to negotiate with government union bosses, special interest individuals, over what the policies are going to be. I mean, we saw this with teacher unions getting involved in school shutdowns during COVID. We've seen this in terms of how taxpayers' money is going to be treated, whether it's how teachers who shouldn't be in the classroom, some of the worst teachers, get protected, and the best ones are told, well, you only get a pay based on how many years you've been here, not the fact that you're the most effective in the classroom. And so it's a big problem, and it's directly counter to the basic principles of representative government to have union bosses in this special privileged position to help impact and determine government policy.
How far up the government food chain do governmental unions go? I mean, are they all the way up to, I don't know. How far up?
Yeah, I mean,
unions?
Union bosses have a massive influence on the federal government. The entire executive branch is full of hundreds of thousands of union members, other people who are forced to be associated with unions, even if they're not voluntary members. And they exercise extremely powerful control over the government. And of course, they work with their political allies to entrench that control. One of the things we saw with the outgoing Biden administration, after it became clear that President Trump had won, they started trying to lock in multi-year contracts, some as long as 7 years, to basically prevent any of the reforms that Trump was elected to enact from coming to fruition.
Did they succeed in doing that?
Some of them they have. Now, the Trump administration has taken executive action to undo a lot of that. That's being battled out in the courts. Union officials are suing the Trump administration over that. So far, of course, they found some friendly courts and friendly judges to file those cases in.
Sure.
But as they've progressed up to the Supreme Court and to courts of appeals, the Trump administration has largely won that. But it's not over yet. They're still fighting, and they still want to basically, have this veto power over what an elected president can do. And these are unelected government union bosses.
Yeah. I mean, can you cite a specific example of something that you were just appalled that they got away with doing? That was not, I'm sure. Do you have a list of how long? Give us some examples.
Well, there's a lot of examples. I mean, one that came up recently is there was a union official. They had been a full-time employee of, and I'm forgetting the agency they worked for within the federal government, and actually had been doing such inappropriate stuff, they were banned because of sexually harassing other government employees from being on government property. And yet, because they were also a union official, they got paid through a scheme known as official time. They got paid a full government salary for a decade, even while they were prohibited from being on any government property because of their misconduct at the office. So that's one of the more extreme examples. But we see this kind of thing every day, where somebody is accused of really horrible activity. Often it's pretty clear and proven, and yet the government union bosses step in and they protect them from being disciplined. They protect them from being held
Yep,
accountable,
sure.
and they force the
Because that's
taxpayers
their
to fund all
job.
this.
Yeah, the
Right.
taxpayers don't pay union dues. Our people do. And then what
Well,
do? You wonder why Washington, D.C. is 98% Democrat. And you can figure it out because that's just the money laundering arm is the doggone unions that run the government. I mean, that's part of it.
yeah, no, it's a big problem. I mean, for years, they on top of all this, they were forcing people. So if you wanted to be a public school teacher in California or New York,
Yeah.
you were required to fund these radical teacher
Yes.
unions as a condition of employment. Now, fortunately, in 2018, the National Right to Work Foundation won a Supreme Court case called Janus v. AFSCME, and those dues payments are supposed to be voluntary now. I can tell you from some of the people we're still assisting, they often make it a lot more difficult than it should be to actually cut off dues. And then we see that money being used for all sorts of partisan activities. I mean, the AFT and the NEA are overwhelmingly, you look at their political contributions, 99% going to the Democrats. That's not a representative of the actual teachers. We know there's a sizable number of teachers who don't support total Democrat or far left policies. And yet that's how they use their money. A lot of it from people who don't really have a real choice in the matter.
Yeah. Remember those guys? Where were they? The guys who were maybe they were in the CIA, or were they in a chat room, maybe the NSA chat room, where they were talking about being furries and talking about sexual ridiculousness and stuff like that. They had their own little clique, their own little club there, and it was just like, wait, you dudes, you can't do this. It's on company time. But I don't know, whatever happened to those guys? You ever get a read on that?
I'm not sure about that one. I can't remember if that was a unionized agency. I think it might be like the FBI or CIA or something crazy.
Yeah, it was some
like
intel
that.
community people. Was like,
but it is a big problem. I mean, we've got this gets back to what we were talking about earlier. We saw these efforts by the Biden administration to all of a sudden take very important, sensitive, controversial, often agencies and try to unionize them so that the incoming administration couldn't do anything about it. We saw this at DOJ, where all of a sudden they threw out decades of precedent and said, oh yeah, we should let just the environmental group and the civil rights group unionize so that basically they can prevent all the things that Trump was elected to do. And a lot of things he talked at hours at length in various, rallies to his voters saying, here's the things we're going to do. We're going to stop, this politicized attacks, and we're going to stop enforcing environmental regulations in a way that undermine American energy independence. And yet the Biden administration was trying to use union bosses and this monopoly union power that unions have to undermine all that.
Where do you go from here?
Well, we keep fighting. Certainly the issue of, the Trump administration is doing a good job trying to get a lot of the problems out, trying to end, and they're using a national security exemption that's in the law that's been used, even Jimmy Carter used it to say, if there's certain areas where unions undermine national security interests, and that's very broad definition of national security.
Like all of them?
Yeah, everything the federal government's supposed to be doing, pretty much, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's why we have federal government. But so trying to get a lot of the union power out, tearing up some of these union contracts that were imposed by the Biden administration specifically to undermine what Trump was elected to do. And so we're going to be watching that closely, filing some briefs in some of those cases when appropriate, and then also defending a lot of the independent-minded workers who come to the National Right to Work Foundation. And we can then defend them and defend their rights. And we see that at the federal level. We've assisted people. We've assisted state employees all the way to the Supreme Court, local school employees. So all of them, and they can come to us if they're having a problem with their union. They can come to the National Right to Work Foundation, nrtw.org, and they can learn about their rights and their legal options and talk to one of our attorneys for free about how they can fight back against union boss power that may be undermining their rights and freedoms.
I was in Oregon during the Janus decision, and it was just a bolt. I mean, just hitting the side of a aircraft carrier. I mean, because the unions are huge. They're
massive, and that was literally billions of dollars of forced dues that were being taken from teachers and other public employees every year
and given to Democrats.
Yeah,
Like it's
and funneled
just
into that.
laundering money for the Democrats. That's what this is. This is just utter nonsense.
Right, and of course, this is all done. It's harming taxpayers. It's harming students. I mean, I'm reminded there's a famous quote by one of the presidents of the AFT, not Randy Weingarten, who's in charge now, but Albert Schenker. And he said, when school children start paying dues, that's when I'll represent the interests of school children.
That's right.
And it was very clear that a lot of what he was doing was contrary to the interests of school children, and he felt like that was his job. But that should not be tolerated in the government sector,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah, I've noticed that when you get to the negotiating table, there's never anybody there sitting down for the children. Not one. There's teachers,
Yeah.
there's the union, there's the the bosses who used to be teachers that are negotiating contracts. It's just absurd. It's just absurd.
Yeah,
We
and
stand no
it's a
chance.
big ugly cycle too, because of course they take the money, they use it to buy friendly school board members who then they negotiate against.
Right.
But of course, they've just elected their bosses is another phrase that you hear a lot from government union officials.
Yes.
And so when that happens, no one's there to look out for students, for taxpayers, for regular voters.
Patrick Semmens, where do we get in touch with you at the National Right to Work Legal Foundation?
Sure. It's our website, www.nrtw.org. That's the easiest. People also can call us for free, 1-800-336-3600. They can talk to someone on our legal team. We've gone all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court in some of these cases, so there's no one better. And we help employees every day in these types of situations.
You're amazing. Thank you so much. Keep fighting for us, because this is a bigger fight than anybody, I think, really fully appreciates. And we appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Glad to be with you. Thanks,
Thank
Victoria.
you. Thank you. Patrick Semmens of the National Right to Work Legal Foundation.